Oh, hello, people. My name is Kali Boss. The only boss. Oh, wait, what else? Have you heard? Wait, do you know that Tap Tap Send is live in Texas? Oh, you didn't know? We went to New York. Now we are live in Texas. So people in Texas and around, all you have to do is to download Tap Tap Send. Yes, Tap Tap Send has become the most unique, secure, and fast way of sending money across the world to your loved ones anywhere. Okay, so download Tap Tap Send on Google Play Store or App Store. And when you're in Texas or around, you just have to put in the code TXGH. What did I say? TXGH, and you get $10 for your first transaction you make. But yeah, Mahama media, Texas, you drew her. Very soon we'll conquer everywhere. Download Tap Tap Send now on Google Play and App Store. Tap Tap Send, it's secure, convenient, easy, and fast.
Hello guys, and welcome you live on SBTV Africa. My name is DJ Nyam. If you just chance on our channel, welcome on board. The voice of the community. I talk to Ghanaians, Africans, I talk to everybody, those in the diaspora and all that. If you want to come on my show, I mean, let's get to know what you are doing, what you've learned, what you've been through and all that. Share your experience with us. Our platforms are open to everybody. My numbers are on the screens. Just WhatsApp me or send me a voice note and then you are on. Don't call me. Just WhatsApp me and I'll respond. I'm going to have a chat today. Surprise you guys. I know I've been talking to a lot of Africans, but today I go talk to Obodo Ibo, Oyibo, Obroni. I'm going straight to Germany, DHW 1642 Concorde plane. Drop your comment, subscribe, share. Let's go straight. I have Fatman in the house. Fatman, welcome you live on SBTV Africa. How are you doing?
Hey, thank you, DJ Jamie. It's a pleasure to be here.
Nice. How is Germany?
It's okay. It's a bit hot at the moment. It's probably similar to over there in sub-Saharan Africa at the moment. Damn hot.
You are in summer, so you guys are having fun, eh? It's good
yeah,
weather.
30 degrees. Too hot for me, you know.
Too hot for you, so you prefer the cold? You prefer winter than summer?
I prefer evening to daytime when it's hot. At least it's cooler. Yeah.
Anyway, welcome on my show. Let's get to know you. I mean, what's your real name?
My real name is Adrian.
Adrian,
yeah. Adrian, yeah.
Adrian. Okay, Adrian what?
Adrian Scarlett. Like Captain Scarlett, Scarlett O'Hara, Scarlet Fever.
Adrian Scarlett.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Which part of Germany are you?
We're near Kaiserslautern, so southwest Germany, not far from the French border, and we've been here about nearly a year. We've been around a lot, so we've been here about a year.
Oh, okay. So you are German, right?
No, I'm Irish passport holder, but I was born and raised in England.
Oh, England. Okay. So somebody will ask, how long have you been in Germany, though?
Since August last year, so nearly a year.
A year. But what brought you to Germany? I mean,
okay,
what
so
are you doing there?
I work in international education. I was previously in China. Before that, I've worked a lot in sub-Saharan Africa. But what brought me here was really the COVID outbreak. I couldn't get my family back to China once they returned to Europe and then to Zambia, where my wife is from. And then we couldn't get them back into China. So after some time, I'm like, no, I've got to come home. I had a baby he was already 9 months. I'd never met him because I was stuck out there. So I'm like, no, got to come home. And then I found a job in Germany. I didn't really want to go to England. And because I got a European Union citizenship through being Irish, I can work anywhere in Europe. So
yeah. I understand you. So your wife is from Africa, Zambia. I mean, how did you met her?
Her uncle was actually a really good friend of mine. One of my best friends in Zambia, and we just met at like a family occasion. I was around his place and got to know her there. And I had to ask him. I'm like, do you mind if I start dating your niece? And Yeah, we were tight. He was my best friend. So yeah, we started dating, and then yeah, things just went from there.
Wow. So for how long have you guys been married?
We've been married 4 years, and we've been together just about a decade.
Oh, I see. Let's talk about back in Ireland. I mean, growing up in Ireland. Tell us more about Ireland. I mean, life in Ireland, growing up, and all that.
Well, actually, I grew up in England. I have an Irish passport through my mother, which is I've talked about passports on my channel, and the Irish passport is much better than the UK one because of the Brexit nonsense. So I used my Irish passport, but I grew up in England. I grew up in a monoculture. I grew up in a rural area. There was one non-white guy in my school. That's about it. Who actually, by coincidence, was half British and half Ghanaian. And he was like the only guy in my school. So it was a real monoculture, not a lot of diversity. Yeah, I guess it was the 80s and it was a rural environment. So quite a sheltered upbringing. Until then, I got to my teens, went off to university, and that's where I started to meet people from all around the world and opened up my horizons.
Oh, I see. How many countries have you been? I mean, I can see you love traveling and all that.
I think I've worked in 9 or 10, but I've traveled to over 50.
Wow.
I started off traveling in Europe when I was a teenager, just hitchhiking and jumping on trains, and then gradually broadened my horizons. I took my first international job in 2001. That was in Botswana. And from the first time I landed on the soil, I don't know if people appreciate, but you guys are obviously born and raised as Africans, but your continent can really kind of drag someone in that I'll never be African, but my heart will always be part of your people, So, yeah.
I mean, before coming to Africa, I know back in the days, I don't know whether these days they still do it, but back in the days, the stuff that they show on your TV, the way they portray Africa, the kind of things that they say to you guys, discourage you guys from coming to visit, invest in Africa and all that. I mean, before coming to Africa, what was your perception and all that?
Okay, so part of it, you can't help but be blinded by the stereotypes to some extent, because all you hear about is corruption, war, violence, poverty, disease. That's the perception of the media, and it still is to this day. But I'm fairly well read. Politics is what I studied at university, so I was aware of the other dimensions. Certain things surprise you, though, the level of development. But even since my first visit in 2001 to going back frequently and working in other countries, I think Europeans would be surprised by the levels of development that you'll find, the quality of buildings, of malls, shopping, office blocks in the big cities. Cities like Johannesburg or Lagos. I've not been to Accra, but these cities could easily be in Europe. I used to show students in England when I went back to England and taught there for a while. I'd show my students pictures of African cities and say, where is this? And then they'd be like, maybe London or Paris or New York. I'm like, no, this is Johannesburg. This is Lagos, Nigeria, or Casablanca, Morocco. But people are unaware. People just, my wife gets it all the time. She's like, so do you live in a hut? Even worse, do you live in a tree? People are just oblivious to the reality. So, the audience I talk to, because my channel on YouTube and my other social media network, the main focus started off as weight loss. But what I realized is, I've got other stories to share, because people are more likely to listen to me than to you in some respects. We're talking about Europeans, because I can amplify what you may say. Some of the stuff I talked about with passport apartheid. If it comes from an African, I think it washes over the heads of many Europeans. But, you know, when I say it because of my white privilege, people are more likely to listen. So I've kind of realized I've built a platform now. So, I have a duty to speak, not just because I'm married to a Zambian, but just, just out of human decency and trying to be a decent person,
Let's talk about the kind of things they show on your TV. I mean, like you just said, we have beautiful places that you show to your people, and they see it as we European, somewhere in Africa. They don't believe it's Africa. Let's talk about the things that they show on your TV, your media. When they come to Africa, they show the bad side. They don't show the good side and all that. So people think we are still sleeping on trees and all that, as they used to, those kind of things that they have in mind. Our Africans, we sleep on trees and all that. I mean,
yeah, I mean, people, they would associate safari wildlife with Africa, and Africa is seen as one entity. A lot of people would not recognize, you've got 54 different countries. You've got so many different tribal groups, each being distinct. But it's kind of just seen as a monoculture. And that will be perpetuated not just by the media, but often by global leaders. And you hear people, I was in Africa, celebrity, I was in Africa. And they won't narrow it down. Maybe they're in Ghana, maybe they're in Zambia, but they won't mention the country. And, that's infuriating. And that really annoys my wife as well. But, being specific to where you were. And people, the fact that your day-to-day life, particularly if you're living in a built-up area, if you're living in an urban area, your day-to-day life, driving to work, going to the office, using the internet, using mobile phones, using cell phones, Europeans won't realize, they'd be shocked that you have TV even, let alone that, virtually everybody's got a cell phone, and everyone, so much money is spent on buying data to access the internet across the continent. People will be oblivious to that. It's bizarre. Just so many stereotypes.
How many African countries have you been so far?
All right. So I've worked in Botswana, Malawi, Zambia, Nigeria, and Morocco. And I've traveled in South Africa, Namibia, which I always say wrong, Egypt, but then Egypt and Morocco, they're Africa, but they're very different. It's the sub-Saharan part of Africa is very different to the north. So, it's still Africa, but that's a whole different debate, I guess. But,
your favorite place so far?
What can I say? I have to say Zambia.
Because of your wife, you say Zambia.
Zambia is great. I mean,
are you scared of mentioning other country? Your wife will not cook for you today.
I think the most beautiful country I visited, actually I missed off the list just then, the most beautiful country physically was probably Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe, okay. What do you like about Zimbabwe?
I just love the diversity. You've got the beauty of the Eastern Highlands over towards the Mozambique border. You've got the hills, the rolling countryside. You've got the Victoria Falls, Mosi Otunya, which again, I have to say is half Zambian, half Zimbabwean. But and both sides are beautiful. I have no particular favorite, but that's there. The national parks are unspoiled. They're not overly touristified. I've not been to Kenya or Tanzania, but I understand that their national parks are basically just modeled for tourists. But Zimbabwe, like Zambia, it's more authentic. And there's so many things I heard before I went to Zimbabwe, even before I went to Africa. You'll be treated like this as a white man, whatever, and none of it's true. It's I think that there may be some aspects in Zimbabwe because of the whites who live there would still talk about themselves as Rhodesians rather than Zimbabwean. And I think some of those guys, would be rejected in society. But I felt I could go anywhere. And there's nowhere I think that I've felt particularly uncomfortable. There were certain parts of Nigeria where I wouldn't go without being with a local person. But by and large, that was more because I was there at a time when there were a lot of kidnappings, and I was in Port Harcourt, so the oil and gas industry was there. And I'm a teacher. I'm not. I don't earn that big money like those guys. So, but you get a little bit nervous. But generally, I can just be free.
What about the food?
The food.
Did you try any of our local foods?
Well, the main staple in the southern part of Africa will be maize meal, sadza, papa, and shima. Where it fills you up. And then in the west, obviously, I ate a lot of jollof rice.
Jollof rice, I know. I know jollof rice. You eat jollof rice.
Yeah, and I know that Ghanaians and Nigerians are always arguing about whose is the best. So I can't say because I've not been to Ghana, so I can't say. But I enjoyed the Nigerian food.
We are waiting for you to visit Ghana. When are you coming to Ghana?
Hopefully sometime. I haven't explored enough of West Africa. A lot of my work and travel has been in the south. So hopefully. I have to persuade my wife. She doesn't get too comfortable in Europe.
Oh, really?
Well, I said kind of joking.
She prefer Africa than Europe.
Well, me, I would prefer Africa. My wife, I think we'll move back at some point. It's these economic factors. We have the same factors driving us as many people in Ghana and across the continent. That because we can earn more money in Europe, obviously we send some back to family. We're able to do that when we're earning money in Europe, like we were in China. I can be comfortable in the international schools I've worked in, but it's the economic reasons really. And again, that's what drives a lot of people to Europe. That's why so many people from sub-Saharan Africa want to migrate to Europe and from other parts of the world. It's not for the cultural reasons or anything else. It's economic migration. But then it's the other way too. I'm an economic migrant because I'm working outside of my own country. I'm working in Germany. When I worked in Malawi, when I worked in Botswana, Zambia, etc., I'm an economic migrant as well. And this language, I talk about this in some of my videos, the language that we use, a white person goes to work in Africa, they call themselves an expat. But expat is just a term of white privilege. It's a term which sets white people apart and says that somehow you're different. This cocoon that white people tend to live in and not integrate in society. So even the term expat, I use it now, but only in informational purposes. I never identify as expat. I would be an immigrant if I'm working in your country. I'm an economic migrant because I'm being paid to work there. And these terms are used in derogatory terms when someone from Africa or parts of Asia move to Europe, but they are the correct terms for anyone who seeks employment in another society. And these things like the passport apartheid and these things drive me crazy.
I'll bring you again that we talk on the passport issue. But today, I just want us to know you. I mean, what you've learned. I mean, coming to Africa and all that, and also marrying an African sister. Get to know more about, I mean, family and all that. I mean, so I'll bring you again. Let's talk about Africa. So, what you said you teach international? What you're a teacher, right?
Yeah, so I've taught mainly history in the international schools. And I'm also, these days, I'm a school leader. I've been vice principal, principal on one occasion. Running schools or being part of a leadership group has been more recent experience. Yeah, and it's an interesting life. It's a good way of life because it opens up so many opportunities for travel and working internationally.
You've been in Asia, you've been to Africa. I mean, let's talk about Africa. Our syllabus, the subject, the stuff that we teach here. I mean, what do you have to say? I do ask people, we do more of theory than practical, going into vocational, technical, and all that, the IT and all that. I mean, have you realized that? Let's talk about our educational system.
I think sometimes the biggest difference between Europe or North America and the developing world per se, Africa and other parts of the world, is access to technology and resources. And the same would apply if you're talking about medical facilities. It all comes down to resources and economic factors. There's some difference in the syllabus models. I would say the ones that I was familiar with in the countries I've lived in, the African syllabus models would tend to be a little bit more content focused than skills based. There's a big shift in most European countries now towards skills based education, vocational training, preparation for life skills. Now, ultimately, though, the school I work in now and schools I worked in France, students still do the same type of exams, though. At the end, it's all about passing the exams to move to the next phase, to get a good job or to go to university. So there's not a lot of difference. But then beyond 16 or 18 years of age is where the big gulf takes place, because the access to higher education, more than 50% of people in the United Kingdom will access higher education and go to university, where the figures in sub-Saharan Africa will be far lower. People don't have the same opportunity. And again, a lot of it comes down to economic factors. There's not the same opportunity to invest in education. And some of it is choice of government, and some of it may be linked to money being perhaps appropriated in other areas. And, although I reject the stereotypes, there is corruption throughout politics across the world. So politicians, whether in Africa or whether in the US or UK, will divert funds in one direction or another. And that can stifle development, and education underpins development. But, I think Mandela talked about how by educating the people, you empower the people. I forget the exact quote. But the danger of empowering your people too much is once they're empowered, they become knowledgeable and they can start to make more informed decisions. And that doesn't always suit the political classes, because you want people to comply.
Okay, let's talk about family. How many kids do you have now?
Okay, so yeah, we've got Michael, who's 7, Emily, who is 4, and Kian is 2. So, 2 of them were born in England and 1 in France, but they're predominantly African kids, because their mother is 100% Zambian, and I'm a mix of English and Irish. So so they're overwhelming nationality. I was telling you, you're more Zambian than anything else.
Well, I know your wife will be watching. What do you like about your wife?
I love the fact when we met, and ever since, she's natural. She is what she is. I mean, she's beautiful, physically beautiful, but she's humble, and yeah, it's kind of by natural, not like just appearance, but she doesn't pretend to be anything that she's not. She's very down to earth, and that's what I appreciate. And I never felt she didn't try too hard, because so some women I met would try too hard because there's perceptions about the white guy in Africa, etc. And I never felt that she was trying too hard, and she'd give me a harder time than perhaps some people, and I'm like, I like this. I like the fiery spirit, So Yeah, she keeps me on my toes. She's also a very good cook, so hence the gaining weight and the whole reason I started social media about trying to lose weight. But trying to lose weight married to an African woman, it's not easy, eh?
Fat man. So what kind of Zambian food do you eat? I mean,
all right. So Zambezi bream would be my favorite. So fish straight out of the river with nshima, the maize meal, with vegetables, what they call rape, which is a green vegetable, impwa, which I don't even know what we call impwa in English. It's a little yellow, kind of almost like a fruity veg, and the onion sauce, mixed tomatoes. So that would be my favorite. The only thing now, I stopped eating meat about 5 years ago. So that
why?
really, environmental reasons.
Environment.
Yeah,
When you talk about environment, what do you mean?
Yeah, the impact of animal agriculture on the environment. That so much land is deforestation, the growing food stuff to feed animals, particularly in the cattle industry. Now, this is a global problem and more of a problem in other parts of the world than it is on your continent. But globally, it's a big issue. And I attended a few conferences, some for my students, got to know a few guys in the environmental sector, and I just felt, okay, I'm setting up these conferences, I'm engaging with these guys, and I'll go home and eat a burger or eat some steak, and I just felt I was a bit of a hypocrite. So I stopped eating meat, but I still eat fish.
So you are not a vegetarian. You eat fish, but you don't eat meat.
Pescatarian. A vegetarian who cheats, I guess.
Okay, let's talk about hustling in Germany. I mean, how is it going? Life in Germany, hustling. Okay, cost of living and all that. I mean, paying rent, people complain, we're working, but taxes too much and all that. I mean,
yeah, you give half your money away. Tax is about 45%. To be fair, they give a lot back. I think they, in terms of child support that you get from the government, it's probably, I can't imagine anywhere in the world would be better. They give a lot of money to families. But the trouble with Europe is it's so cold for half the year. You spend a lot of money on oil and gas. So your bills are high, and a lot of your brothers and sisters who come here for a better life economically, I could see how they're going to struggle, and people back home don't appreciate that they're not going to be as wealthy as they may imagine, because the cost of living, the cost of renting a space, you're talking hundreds of euros just to rent a small apartment. The amount they still have to pay bills, transport costs will be like a different level to they're used to back home. So yeah, it is a hustle. My wife has to work as well. When we worked in China, and also when I worked in other parts of the world, generally what I would earn would be enough for the family. But here, we both have to work.
I see.
Social systems are great. I've had a couple of little health issues this year, and the health systems is amazing. Even today, my son had to go to the hospital, banged his head, he's fine, but they took him straight away. He was treated within minutes. So these things which we can take for granted in Germany, but that's not across Europe. It's nowhere near as good in some other parts of Europe.
Are you facing any challenge with the language because you speak English?
Yeah, my key phrase is Sprechen ein bisschen Deutsch, which is I only speak a little bit of German.
But why are you not learning it? I mean,
yeah, no excuse. I need to learn more German. It took me a while. When I lived in France, I was there 3 years, and by the end, I can converse in French. Don't test me though. I'm rusty. But yeah, German, it's a whole different ball game. It's it's a tricky language, but yeah, we intend to stay here for a few years.
For a few years, okay.
So yeah, it's important. My wife will learn it quicker than me. She's multilingual, so. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You said you love Africa and then you want to come back to Africa and stay here, right?
Yeah, ideally, I'd love it. Maybe to retire now. I'm over 50, so it may be for retirement. I don't know.
You want to retire? You want to retire in Africa?
It's a better the quality of life, provided you've got a little bit of money. It's a better life.
It's a better life. Okay.
If you've got some, and that's the same world over, but you can enjoy life and the simple pleasures of life, I think, more. There are stresses, of course, I'm not going to diminish that, but people tend to be freer and people have a much more outward look on life. People don't focus on the minute details. I think, people live for the day. Anywhere I've lived in Africa, and Africans I've met over the world, and so sometimes you need to think about tomorrow, but as you get older, maybe there's not so many tomorrows. So I like the way you can kind of just think about tomorrow, and maybe the next day never comes. And yeah, I find some of my friends have that mentality. This means when they have money, they spend it straight away. But that's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. I mean, Africa is a place to be. Just that things are a bit tough for the youth and all that. I mean, things are not straight. But when you have a good job and you are making some money, I mean, the best place to be is Africa, right?
I'd say so. Yeah. Yeah. There's nowhere better. I mean, just my friends, whenever they knock off from work, they're out straight away. I don't know. The wives, I feel sorry for a little bit because, of course, knock off. They'll be in the bar. They're just chilling, having fun, having a laugh and a joke. And that lifestyle, in the sun, and that lifestyle exists across all kind of social levels, because you see the guys at the bus depots, in the village, people just sat under a tree having a beer. The same with the lawyers and accountants and politicians in different environments, but that kind of social interaction, I think a lot of that's lost in Europe, and people in Europe where they do go out and socialize, they get drunk and then start fighting. And not that you guys never fight, but it's infrequent. I didn't see bar fights like you'd see in Europe, or England especially. Most people are just good people.
So are you teaching in the university or what?
Right now I'm teaching in a school, so I teach the students are 11 up until 18, 19 years. I worked in a college when I was in Botswana. I was training teachers, so that was university, but mainly I've been in 11 to 19 high school environment.
Oh, okay. Fatman, thank you so much for coming on my show. I mean, it's been a wonderful time with you. I'll call you again. I know we'll do part 2 of this. We'll talk about the passport issue and another stuff. I mean, any shout outs to family, friends, anyone?
Yeah, shout out, of course, to my wife, Deborah. Hopefully you will be seeing this. And to the kids, Michael, Emily, and Kian. And maybe some of my boys down in Zambia, Eddie, the guy who introduced me to Deborah, Jerry, my main man, another educator, Ronnie, Big Phil. Big Phil, if you do see it, get in touch, man. I've lost touch with Big Phil. Those are my boys down in Zambia. And to Billy over in Malawi, he's my other bro. He's up in Scotland now, but he's my other bro. And Teps, if you're still around, down in Francistown, Botswana. It's been a long time, bro. It's anyone who also follows me from across the continent on any of my channels on YouTube.
What's your social media handle?
Bye Fatman. So bye underscore Fatman. Initially, it was a weight loss journey, but now I've mixed the weight loss with family, travel, and a lot of stuff about my kind of political thoughts about the way of the world. That's become increasingly my kind of go-to, and I try to mix them up. So.
Nice one. I will invite you to Ghana. Come and visit Ghana and also enjoy Ghana, okay?
Thanks, Nyami. May take you up on the offer.
Yeah, I'll invite you. Thank you so much for coming on my show, Fatman, straight from Germany, passing through SBTV Africa, Daily Hustle Worldwide. Charlie, thanks, guys, for watching. Like, share, subscribe, drop your comments. Invite your friends to come and join SBTV Africa. If you want to come on my show, my numbers are on the screens. I'll thank my production team, DJ Click, Sharon, and Tina. Peace out.
Living in Ghana, abroad, a first-timer visiting Ghana, or a company wondering where to get quality service providers in Ghana for any job? Then Ejumapa On Demand Services is here to assist you. Ejumapa On Demand Services connect requesters and service providers such as masons, plumbers, electricians, auto repairers, home and office cleaners, trash collectors, rent agents, spa attendants, roofers, beauticians, teachers, CCTV installers, and all artisans on one platform. Yes, one platform. Trust Ejumapa On Demand Services to sort you out any day, anywhere, and at any time. To download the app, please visit the App Store and Play Store or visit our website www.ejumapa.com.